Welcome to Hockey Nights in Vegas, Season 2, Episode 7, the late night version. These two old goats have stayed up after the Golden Knights' victory this evening over the Minnesota Wild, and we're going to talk the homestand as a whole. 4 games, 6 points, 3 really great wins, quality wins over Calgary, over Dallas, and tonight over Minnesota. But they really kind of pooped their pants and gave away 2 points that we kind of expected that they would have on Friday night against the Flyers. So I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, 3 out of 4 wins is a great homestand. But on a scale of 1 to 10, I would only give it a 7 or a 7.5 because they really points are at such a premium in the NHL. And when it gets down to April and May, I just have a feeling that they're going to look back at that game, and they're gonna regret the 2 points that they gave away.
Well, I will tell you this, Eddie. If you had asked me prior to the beginning of this homestand whether I would be satisfied with 3 wins out of 4, considering the opponents, Dallas, Calgary, and Minnesota, I would have told you hands down. But when they beat Dallas and then they beat Calgary, or the other way around, Calgary, Dallas. Now I'm thinking we can. And when I say we, they can sweep all 4 of these games because they've had somewhat success over Minnesota. Especially, I think they're in Minnesota's head, and I think you could see that tonight. That Minnesota still has a little in Italian what they call moline. They still have a little moline towards the Vegas Golden Knights, and they got a little chippy out there. But when they literally pooped their hockey pants against the Philadelphia Flyers, like you said, those are 2 important points. I mean, they're literally tied now with Edmonton, even though Edmonton's played 1 last game. But there was maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, Edmonton was double-digit points ahead of the Vegas Golden Knights, and Vegas has closed that gap. So I agree with you. 3 out of 4 is good, but considering the game that they lost, I'm hard pressed. I think you're being gracious by giving them the score you gave them. I would grade this homestand around a 6 only because of the loss to Philadelphia.
Well, I think I went a little higher because I think that each of those wins were character wins for sure, but they were also statement wins. The way that they handily beat Calgary, even though it was a 1-goal game at 3-2. The way that they pretty much beat them 200 feet by 80 feet across was, I think, in my opinion anyway, the best performance that they had all year. And then against Dallas, it was a gritty comeback. They were outstanding 5-on-5. Look at my funny head. My shirt disappeared again.
You look like Claude Rains. You look like Claude Rains there for a second.
I thought it was the great
For those
Gazoo.
who are not old enough to realize, Claude Rains played the Invisible Man. Only you and I would know that because we're old goats.
That was pretty cool, though. But I'm going to try to prevent that from happening. Dallas, they owned them 5-on-5.
Yeah.
But the special teams completely it was a 2-poop homestand. The Philly game and the special teams against Dallas.
But as bad as they special teams played over the last couple of games, tonight they made a statement. Especially on the penalty kill.
Yes, especially on the penalty kill. When they went and things got a little chippy and they took a couple of, I'll say, marginal penalties. I mean, Nick Hague earned his 2 minor penalties with a pretty solid cross-check. And the roughing penalty was probably for the missed punch when he threw a haymaker. And you know.
He didn't hit him, but if he would have. Yeah. I don't think he'd be standing.
But the fact that they muscled up and they killed the penalty and then they killed the 5-on-3 and then they took another penalty right afterward. And you could see, I don't know that Minnesota got under their skin, but like you and I were saying tonight in the press box, I was thinking that you thought the referee had a bet on Minnesota and I thought he had a bet on over 10 goals because there was some pretty gentle infractions being called, specifically the interference penalty on Nick Hague later in the game. We haven't seen that penalty called not one time here at the Fortress all year. And that was inexplicable. All he did was impede the guy's direction. He didn't flatten him or anything else.
Yeah, and even DeBoer made a reference to that call in his post game where he said he thought it was a marginal call to begin with, and I totally agree with him. And you never really hear DeBoer really complain too much about the officiating.
Well, he wants to keep that
25,000 either too.
Yeah, that's a pretty hefty fine when they've come a calling.
Right, but what I wanted to bring up is that in the beginning of the season, when the Knights were struggling as far as injuries, Robin Leonard pretty much saved their bacon. But over the last couple of games, the team has kind of reversed that role and has been saving Robin's bacon, because there were a couple of goals tonight that I'm sure he would like back.
There was the fourth goal, especially the
Zuccarello goal with 0.06 seconds left to go in the second period.
I thought the fourth goal was
first period.
Worse.
I'm sorry.
I think the fourth goal was even worse than that.
Yeah, and that shot was going wide.
Yeah, but you know what? See puck, stop puck. It's
just a reaction of to pull the glove out. Even though it was clearly wide, you saw that on a replay.
Right.
We have the benefit of seeing it on a replay. Robin has the benefit of seeing it live and coming at him. He's thinking, well, let me just grab this, because Minnesota was buzzing around. Let me grab it, get a stoppage of play, we get a line change, and we'll go from there. And it just took a really weird bounce. And it went, instead of going to the left, which it should have went, or wide behind the net, it went behind him and in. It was just like, oh, my God.
Well, let me put this to you. Our friend Chris Chapman of Fox Sports whispered to me, do you have a sense that what Robin Leonard said, he may have been taking not necessarily a shot at the goaltending coach, but maybe I call it more a shot across the bow, because Leonard said in the postgame today, he's been doing what he's been doing and been pretty successful at it for a long time. And there wasn't called to make changes. And it sounded to both Chris and I like maybe Mike Rosati is tweaking with him a little bit, and he hasn't either become comfortable with it or he hasn't become acclimated to the changes that Mike Rosati is wanting to implement. I just felt like, and I agree with Chris completely, there might be a little something going on. Robin Leonard referred to it that he was a little bit deeper in his net than he liked to be. And that was something that was an issue in the beginning when he got here, as opposed to Marc-Andre Fleury, who was outside the blue and so much more of an athletic goalie. But I wonder if you think Robin's less consistent play over the last couple or three games, you think they might be doing. There's my invisible man guy.
Yeah, you're fading it out. I think it might be the color of your shirt.
It might be, but I'm not going to do like that guy in the thing and start pulling.
Come on, if I start playing some music, you won't take your
No. We only know one person that would appreciate that, and we're not going to name her. Anyway, I wonder if
no idea.
I wonder if he's making some changes. I wonder if he's tweaking with Robin and Robin is not responding.
And that's a valid point, and he kind of said it without saying it at the press conference. But you would think, based upon how well he played in the first sets of games, if you throw out the LA game, obviously I don't know what that was in the LA game. We gave up like 4 goals on 8 shots, or whatever it was. But other than that, he was playing well. And if Rosati is tweaking with him, and we don't know this to be a fact, you never really know what Robin is trying to imply when he says it. He's pretty direct. And I would think that he would be more direct if he really wanted to say it, but he kind of laid it out there like for us to interpret that he doesn't like
something,
what he's being asked to do.
Something.
I played this. I've been a pro for X amount of years. I've been successful. I won the Jennings Trophy when I was with the Islanders playing this way. And I won it again with Marc-Andre Fleury, combination of him and Fleury last year. Why do I have to change for? If this is my style, every goaltender's style. Fleury, like you said, roams. Sometimes Fleury goes. Sometimes he looks like he's headed out to Las Vegas Boulevard. He's out so far. and Leonard's always deep in the net. And he's such a big guy that he can afford to sit back a little bit because he doesn't lose. You know, most goaltenders come out to cut the angle down.
Right.
Robin goes back to give them less of an angle because he's like, he reminds me of that. Is it the Geico commercial with the walrus in the net?
Yeah.
Yeah. That, I mean, I'm not calling Robin Leonard a walrus, but he's a big boy. And we've seen him close up in the locker room. He's a big boy. So that's his style of play. He's played that way all his life. Why is Rosati trying to change him? I don't understand that.
If he is, why is he?
Why is he?
The other takeaway that I'll tell you that was just sort of subtle, I will say to you that Robin Leonard has played the puck behind the net more in the last 4 games than his entire time in Vegas.
Well, yeah, he's known for not really wandering outside of his crease.
Exactly my point. He has played the puck more, and he almost had a bad turnover tonight, but he got away with it a little bit. But the gross number of times that he's played the puck during this homestand is more than we've ever seen, and nobody's asked him about it. And maybe we were remiss in not asking about it, but it is a change, and it is a skill that he is not excellent at.
And you would think if he's doing it, it's basically a coaching instruction.
I agree with you 1,000%.
We want you to go out and handle the puck and be like the third defenseman.
Right. Stop some pucks.
Right. And
start some rushes.
And this is what Fleury was good at. This is how Brodeur in New Jersey made his living by going out and retrieving the puck. They created the trapezoid because of Brodeur, because he would skate all the way to the corner, pick up the puck, and he'd be like New Jersey's third defenseman. And I think I don't know if I want to say Rob is uncomfortable. He's a pro. I mean, he can adjust, but he's having a little bit of an adjustment period because this is something that he is not used to doing. He doesn't look
as comfortable.
Absolutely.
As he has been when he was playing outstanding hockey. And like Pete said, saved their bacon a whole bunch of times when they were stacked on the injury front.
Yeah.
So let's change the subject. Friday night, Chandler Stevenson was out of the lineup. They called it a personal day. We found out this evening that his grandmother passed away. He flew to somewhere in Western Canada to attend the funeral, flew back, dressed today, and oh, by the way, hung 4 points on the Minnesota Wild.
A career high, by the way.
I know that he's your guy and he's the number 1 center. But the human side of this, what an absolutely huge game from him tonight. There are no more difficult circumstances. I mean, he was outstanding. He could have easily had a 5-point night tonight.
And he was emotional about it too in the press conference.
Yes.
He came close to tearing up. And do you listen to the post-game show on the way home when you're driving home?
I do sometimes.
Did you tonight?
I caught the post the second.
Okay, so you heard Ryan Wallace, who's known as Ryan the hockey guy. You heard? Were you tuned in when the question came up as far as how well Stevenson plays between Pacioretty and Stone? And Ryan said, if I'm Pete DeBoer, I'm not breaking that line up. It's playing so well. I know your head's gonna wobble like the little dog in the back of the car there, but I'm telling you, Ryan Wallace is a pretty knowledgeable hockey guy, and I claim to know my stuff too, and I know you know your stuff. I think Pete DeBoer's got a tough decision whether to break up that line. And I know I'm not saying you put $10 million as a third line center, but you put him in the middle and you move Carlson down one line. And like I say,
the Misfits line that has 650 points together as the Golden Knights, give or take a couple.
You know what?
Points.
And that Misfit line, if you put Eichel in the middle, will have 750 points in the same amount of time. Because over 4 years, Eichel is going to score at least 25 goals a year. So there's your extra 100 goals.
Well, when the people hit the like and the subscribe button down there, there's also a place for them to comment. Why don't you guys tell us what you think? Joe says he thinks that it might be Carlson that moves down. my opinion is that it's good if they put $10 million anywhere but 1C, they've lost their mind. Chandler Stevenson has besides the huge raise that he's lining himself up for, a year or so down the line, he's made himself indispensable without question. He's leading the team in scoring, 26 points in 28 games, something along that line. A bunch of them without Stone and Pacioretty, which was the big criticism. You're only scoring because of the talent. Well, he basically, told those people to suck it, and has proven that. But, they asked him today, does he feel like he's a number one center? And he was very careful, and he didn't say yes. He was very careful in saying that I benefited a lot by the people that I've played with. Now, he believes he's a number one center. I believe he slow rolled us to death on that answer. Because the Golden Knights, as a general rule, in those press conferences, never speak me or never speak I, right? They always speak we.
We're a family. We're a family. They made reference to that too. But you did notice that when DeBoer was kind of asked that question, he punted by saying Chandler Stevenson.
He totally punted.
He said Chandler Stevenson is one of the top 6 forwards, giving himself the out to be able to say, I'm bringing Eichel. Eichel's coming in. They spent $10 million on him. How do I not put him on the first line? But my question to Pete and to anyone else who's listening here, how do you take Stevenson off that first line? He has excelled even without Pacioretty and Stone. With Pacioretty and Stone, their chemistry is just perfect. And tonight on the power play unit, you and I looked at each other like, did Stevenson just skate the puck all the way into the zone? Where
he outskated not only the other 4 guys of the Golden Knights, he beat all 9 guys on the ice to the blue paint in front of Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, and I wrote about this too, how their entry into the zone on the power play is horrible. Tonight it was much better, and speed kills.
Yes.
And Stevenson's speed has other players that forces them to back up. He creates time and space because they have to back up because of the speed, which then allows Stone on the left and Pacioretty on the right, gives them more room too. So that line, I'm not breaking that line up until you prove to me that Eichel would be a better fit. And how do we prove that unless we put Eichel with Stone and Pacioretty? I'm not sure how you solve this problem.
Ryan Wallace, Ryan the hockey guy, you now have an open invitation from Joe and I to come join us on a future episode of Hockey Nights in Vegas, and we will.
We can talk about this.
We can happily continue debating about the astronomically large decision that Pete DeBoer is going to have to make. And, Joe and I have talked about it ad nauseum. So Joe and I are not going to talk about it anymore. We've talked about trade candidates. We've talked about roster moves. We've talked about everything. I would love to have a knowledgeable fellow like Ryan, the hockey guy, come on and join us and maybe give us a little bit of perspective that he might have that we don't have.
Yeah, and actually, for those that don't know, Ryan does the pregame and the postgame, and he also does a weekly Vegas Golden Knight radio show also. So he's tuned into the team, and I will make an effort to go visit him on his perch on the flight deck and extend him an invitation. We'll probably do that when I get back from the New York trip, because I'm going back for the 3 games in the metropolitan area.
Which is the perfect segue. Let's talk about that. 6 points out of 8, we agree is somewhere between a 6 and a 7.5. We'll take 6 out of 8 every time that winning percentage works. Boston, the Islanders, the Rangers, and the Devils. How many points do you believe is a successful road trip with you and the Golden Knights on the road next week?
Well, I'm gonna say 6 to 7. Okay, and I think that the 2 games I think they can win, I'm not gonna say easily, but I think the 2 games that they could win, even if they don't have 100% performance, they can definitely beat the Devils and they can beat the Islanders, who I don't think have won yet in their new arena. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
they just hung one yesterday, I think.
Oh, they finally won one? Okay.
Yeah, they got their first one.
The Rangers and the Boston will probably be their two toughest games. There's going to be obviously there'll be a lot of emotion. It's the DeBoer versus Gallant matchup. First time since Gallant was fired and DeBoer was hired in this place. So that should be interesting. You got Revo playing against a bunch of his old friends. That should prove to be interesting. Boston's in the middle of, they have some goaltending problems going on. So I can see the Knights getting at least 6 points, possibly 7 out of 8 on this road trip. I would be happy with 7. I would obviously be really happy with if they swept the road trip. I don't know if that's possible.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of games. It's a lot of games. It's a lot of games. It's 4 games in 6 nights, I believe. They play Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday. Yep.
Well, I'm going to say I agree with you for sure on the Islanders and the
Devils.
Boston, I think, is a winnable game because they have problems in goal. And they now, when David Krejci left and surprised them and went back to the Czech Republic, I think.
He went back to Europe to play.
Right, he went back to Europe to play. That was a monstrous hole in the second line for them.
Yep.
And they still haven't figured it out. That Boston game Tuesday night, where I think our friend Steve Karp's going to be at, is a game that the Golden Knights will, if they win, will win with team depth, because I don't think that Boston can match up with them up and down the lineup, especially when it gets to 2-3 and in goal.
Right. And the Vegas Golden Knights are best when they're able to roll 4 lines. And they're, in my opinion, probably one of the best 5-on-5 teams in the league.
And
so
there's no reason they shouldn't roll the lines against Boston.
Right. And if they stay out of the penalty box, I think they'll be very successful on this trip. And if they can just get their power play just to be somewhat decent and get back to their extraordinary penalty kill, which last year they were the number 1 penalty killing team in the league. And they were, I think, 2 or 3 at home at T-Mobile until they pretty much pooped their hockey pants over the last couple of games on the penalty kill. Tonight was much better. They killed off a 5-on-3. So they I don't want to get too high too quickly on the penalty kill, but they looked a lot better tonight than they have over the last couple of games.
Mark Stone said he felt like they started to get their swagger back on the PK. Right. And I guess we have to thank that dirty hit that got everybody's piss and vinegar sort of up in the second period. He low-bridged Kolasar, and then he low-bridged Stone. Right. And then he ducked a big right hand from Nick Hague. But that sort of, that sequence, though, they did take a lot of penalties, and a couple of them were not the best penalties to take, more emotional than physical and game related. The fact that it sort of got their dander up and the PK showed up and kind of got its swagger back a little bit. They didn't create any, significant shorthanded chances, but you know what? That doesn't really matter to me. They're tied for the NHL lead with 6 shorties, I'm pretty sure. And those opportunities will continue to come when you have Carlson and Riley Smith, and you have Stone and Waugh. That's gonna, when they sort of get it out of their own heads and just sort of stay with doing what they do, I think the PK is going to be fine. The power play, I still have concerns about, like you said, for whatever reason in this copycat NHL league, their entries
that
just
back pass. You skate 80 feet
and you pass it back 60.
Back 80 feet.
Yeah, I mean they're not fooling anybody.
Nobody.
Teams are lining up in a 1-3 formation at the blue line,
waiting for that to happen,
daring them to skate past them, and there's so much talent, it's inexplicable why they can't enter the zone.
Speaking of talent, you know how Ovechkin is noted for his office on the left wing faceoff circle? I think Pacioretty's putting his mark on the right-hand faceoff circle. That man is on fire. He actually broke a franchise record tonight by scoring scoring 6 games in a row. He scored at least a goal. He's got 14 points in the last 8 games, and he's scored a point in every game he's played since he returned to the lineup from a fractured foot on November 24th. He lit it up. He is literally on fire.
I don't want to say that. Okay, I'm not going to make fun of the fans who said we lost that trade when we gave up Suzuki, but we didn't lose that trade when we.
No.
No.
We give up a very talented prospect in Nick Suzuki?
Sure.
We did, but did we know this at the time? We didn't. We didn't know how good Nick Suzuki was going to be.
And honestly, we still don't.
It's early, but you know what?
He's showing flashes of brilliance.
He's given us enough to see that, barring injuries, and he's going to get bigger and stronger because he's literally on the small side, but he's built like Marchand. He's not as nasty as Marchand is, but he's got that same build. So,
is he going to score 30 goals in the NHL? That's the benchmark. That's the benchmark. Was Pacioretty's done it and continued to do it?
Right.
Is he going to be a 30-goal scorer in the NHL?
And we got rid of that. I want to call it a horrible contract.
Yes, you can. It was an albatross.
The Tatar contract that cost us 3 draft picks too.
Right.
So we got rid of Tatar, who's now floundering somewhere in New Jersey, I believe.
Yeah, he's been a healthy scratch a couple of times, and
yeah. So we did not lose that Pacioretty trade. Not at all.
No, he's a grown-ass man playing grown-ass man's hockey. I mean, he flattened the guy. He flattened the guy.
An edge too.
Yeah,
he plays with an edge. Some goal scorers, very rarely play with an edge. Like Ovechkin's a goal scorer that plays with an edge. Pacioretty's a goal scorer that plays with an edge. Then you got other goal scorers like Conor McGregor.
Finesse.
Conor McDavid. I always say that. Like I made him a UFC fighter. Conor McDavid. He's a goal scorer, but he doesn't really have a edge to him at all.
He's a finesse guy. That's all.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it. He's a finesse guy. But I mean, Pacioretty flattened that guy. All I remember was number 4. I don't remember who it is. Behind the net.
Yeah, and he's got that reverse hit down pat.
Right. He almost killed somebody in the Dallas game. The guy had no idea what hit him.
No idea what happened to him. Exactly. And he's done that a couple of times. He gets cold on it once in a while too, though.
Right. But he certainly has that aggressive gene in him. And Stone doesn't like getting hit too much either. And he's not above a little friskiness as well.
Yeah, but
it's all good.
You don't want, like somebody, I think Chris said, who's going to stand up and fight tonight when the game started to get a little chippy. And even Pacioretty in between the second and third period said there's a lot of emotion out there right now. And we looked at each other like, well, I don't know. We don't really have anybody except Colasar. And Chapman said, well, maybe Stone. We don't want Stone fighting. He breaks his hand. We do not need that at all.
No, I pitched in Braden McNabb.
McNabb.
And he squared up with Jordan Greenway.
Yeah.
Which is 6'8" versus 6'4".
Yeah.
That and the referee was quick to stick himself in between that because that was going on behind the play as they were going up the ice.
I think there's another point that we probably should address, and I know we don't really want to talk about trade bait, but I'm under the opinion that if one of the contracts probably is going to be moved at the trade deadline, there's a toss up between whether it's Riley Smith or Shay Theodore. You're under the opinion that Riley Smith's on his way out. I'm under the opinion that if they're going to move a contract, if they're going to, or the other option is to leave Eichel on LTIR until the playoffs start.
Wait, I have a third option.
Okay, but let me just finish my point.
Go ahead.
Shay Theodore tonight was moved down to the 5th and 6th defensive pair.
That was last game.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to say is, what are they trying to say?
Well, he's not playing outstanding hockey. He's certainly a defensive liability. He is. There was that funny stat that we saw where he's getting the most percentage of rebounds on his shots or on shots that get through. One of those weird metric things. But here's the thing I want to run by you. And my friend, Dr. John Pierce, who is not a hockey guy. he became a hockey guy basically as a Golden Knights fan, but he is a doctor. So he said to me, I wonder if Martinez is in really bad shape and might not come back.
Really?
And he said, we're not going to get into the medical thing because this will be a 6-hour podcast. He said to me that in addition to the 50 some stitches, he could have a very serious concussion, or he could have nerve damage, any of the nerves that are in the, so there's a possibility. And all we get from Pete DeBoer and from the team is he's progressing slowly.
You know what's scary about that cut that he took? There was almost no blood on the ice.
None. And he must have got his hand on that cut in 0 seconds flat, because
but even if he got his hand,
they didn't scrape the ice.
That's what I mean. Which leads me to believe that blade went straight through, all the way through to his jaw.
I think that I don't want that to be the reality of it. And obviously the Golden Knights are never going to tell us really anything until we see him on the ice at practice. But I wonder if he's worse than we suspect that he is. And, an LTIR trip for him at $5.5 million, it certainly answers an awful lot of not all of their salary cap concerns.
Even with Martinez on LTIR, there's still one more contract that has to move. They have to find $10 million someplace.
Right.
Whether it's Riley Smith at 5, or Theodore, I think, is at 5.2.
McNabb at 2.75.
Yeah.
All the kids that'll get put on waivers, Amadio, Hutton, all those people will be waived and will report to Henderson, which will move their minuscule, league minimums, yep. 750, 900,000, $1 million here and there.
So what if that's true, or if that's the inkling that your doctor friend has, that Martinez injury is probably more severe, then they probably can't move Theodore.
No, they probably can't.
No, I don't think at that point they can't move Theodore. Then we're back up to who goes. Is it Riley Smith that goes? I hate to see that. He's playing so well.
Yeah, it's an odd year, right? Isn't he the odd years? The odd years, he's all 20 plus goals, and the even years are his off years. There's a weird stat about Riley Smith and his every other year things. But
if it's every other year and this is his last contract year, he's picked a good year
he's picked a very good year to have a very good year.
Yeah, he's gonna either get a very big payday, or he's gonna get moved somewhere, and he'll get a big payday free agency wise. We shall see.
So it's 11 o'clock at night. It's past my bedtime. Let's wrap up season 2, episode 7. I should introduce my co-host Joe Payne from the Las Vegas Advisor.
Yeah, you forgot to do that.
I think I forgot. It's the first time I've forgotten to do that.
That's okay. I think everyone knows who I am.
It might be old age setting in, but we're going to wrap this up. Joe's got a plane to catch. He's going to go do the New York trip and see the Islanders, the Rangers, and the Devils. Hopefully he'll get a quality snowstorm to remember what it was like when he was growing up in New York, while we bask in the 40-degree weather here in Las Vegas.
It's pretty cold here. It's actually uncharacteristically cold here right now in Las Vegas.
So periodically through the podcast, subscribe. You'll see buttons flashing here. Can you do us a favor, please? Subscribe to the podcast so you get these in your email, or you get a notification whenever we do these. Time permitting.
Do we want to talk about a potential new platform that's going to be coming up?
No, because I don't want to jinx it.
Okay.
I don't want to jinx it. So we're gonna wrap it up.
We do have some exciting news coming up.
We do. So Joe's gonna
travel. And it's not Eddie's getting married.
No. The only woman that loves me is married. So no, Eddie is not getting married.
Oh, you have someone that loves you, but she's married?
She does.
How'd that happen?
She has a driver's license, so she can obviously see. So I don't know. It's unexplainable to me. thanks everybody for watching. Joe and I might cut one of these while he's out on the road, depending on
I
if
thought
these
you were
two
gonna say
old
Joe might
goats.
get married when he's on the road, but
No. There's going to be nothing like that. Thank you, everybody, for your continued support. Hopefully, we'll have some pretty big news for you in the next few days for the new episode. Thanks, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And that's it. We're out of here for episode 7. Thanks, folks.